So think about driving down the interstate. You pass those way stations where the massive 18-wheelers have to pull over for rigorous safety inspections, right?
Yeah, while the nimble passenger cars just get to zoom right past.
Exactly. And that is the exact framework we are unpacking today in our deep dive. Welcome in, by the way. Our mission today is looking at, well, a pretty rare Saturday evening X thread from Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei.
Right, which he wrote in response to the investor Gavin Baker.
Yeah. And we're going to explore why one of AI's top leaders argues that well-designed regulation actually prevents monopolies. Plus, how a really tragic personal loss fuels his drive to compress a century of medical research into just a single decade.
It is a fascinating thread because
Yeah.
it starts by dismantling this core Silicon Valley assumption, right? The idea that government rules just automatically crush the little guy.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this. Because the tech world usually views regulation as a roadblock that favors massive corporations. But I'd argue Amodei sees it more like that traffic light or the way station we just mentioned.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't stop the journey, but it prevents the biggest trucks from running over the smaller cars.
Which is such an interesting flip because he points out that the real monopolizing force isn't the government regulation at all. It is AI's own scaling loss.
Oh, because of the sheer cost. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Training these frontier models requires just astronomical amounts of money and compute power. And that naturally concentrates power at the very top. He actually compares good regulation to a court system that protects individuals from mob rule.
Right. So the giants are already building a monopoly just by the physics and the cost of the hardware.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that is why he specifically supports things like California's SB 53 and the Pacing the Frontier proposal.
Because those mandate pre-deployment testing for the massive labs, right?
Right. But they explicitly exempt smaller challengers. They trigger based on these massive compute thresholds. So if you're a scrappy startup training a smaller model, you get a free pass.
You aren't burdened by the heavy compliance. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. If Amodei is championing these heavy regulations to keep the ecosystem fair and safe, why did Gavin Baker accuse him of focusing too much on AI's dangers? I mean, forced him to defend his optimistic vision.
Yeah, the classic doomer label.
Right. Are people just ignoring his optimism, or are social media algorithms heavily skewing toward his negative clips, for clicks?
I mean, fear scrolls better than hope, right?
Mm.
Amodei claims he actually splits his focus 50-50 between risks and benefits.
Wait, 50-50?
Yeah, and to prove it, he breaks down his essay, Machines of Loving Grace. He believes AI can compress 50 to 100 years of biological research into just 5 to 10 years.
Okay, I hear claims like that, and, well, my skeptical alarm rings. How does a language model compress a century of biology?
Well, because we aren't just talking about generating text here. AI systems can simulate complex biological processes instantly. Think about mapping exactly how proteins fold and interact in the human body.
Oh, instead of doing it physically in a wet lab?
Exactly. Historically, that took years of physical trial and error with pipettes and petri dishes. AI can do it in silicon. It can instantly test millions of molecular combinations to find the exact ones that might cure diseases.
So we are talking about literally brute forcing cures for things like cancer or Alzheimer's in a single decade.
Yes. And for Amodei, the clock is ticking. He shared a deeply personal detail in this thread. His father actually died of hepatitis C right before the curative antivirals were developed.
Yeah, well, missing a life-saving cure by a margin of months, that is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, and that loss directly drives his urgency to update FDA processes for AI-accelerated drugs. He knows our current regulatory pipelines will just bottleneck everything.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the listener? Because if these life-saving cures are actually on the horizon, why do we instinctively roll our eyes when tech companies make these massive promises?
Well, the surprising part is that Amodei bluntly admits that marketing slogans like AI will cure cancer are completely useless against today's widespread institutional distrust.
Yeah, because we've heard it all before.
Right. He acknowledges that AI companies, Anthropic included, just haven't delivered these massive societal benefits yet.
You really can't PR your way out of a problem when people are demanding actual medical miracles.
Exactly. He knows trust will only be rebuilt through concrete, measurable breakthroughs. And they are hoping to show early signs of those tangible results in the coming months.
Right, replacing empty optimism with transparent, hard-earned results.
Which is why he's going to keep demanding those guardrails in the meantime.
It is such a measured vision. And it brings us to a final provocative thought for you to mull over. If an AI system successfully compresses a century of medical research to cure a fatal disease for you or a loved one, will society even care who holds the power or what regulations governed its creation? Something to think about.